I will call this meeting to order. This is the Public Awareness Personnel Policy Committee of the Vallecitos Water District, meeting Monday, May 1st, 2023 at 10 a.m. in the district office upper conference room. Do we have any members of the public?
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. And I will dispense with the notice and the public comment. Items for discussion today. First item on the agenda, new board director onboarding process discussion. This is new business. This is something that Director Grosset and I both share an interest in trying to standardize and formalize a little bit more. I see General Manager Broom, you brought in the board member handbook.
Yes.
And so I imagine you have some things to say. So
Yeah, not a lot. So I'll say this, Anthony and Ann have put this together. I have not yet had a chance to review it. So it's
Okay.
I'm the holdup right now, but there are a lot of tabs and there'll be more structure to it. Mostly it's going to be it's going to be an electronic version with links to a lot of things.
Great.
That's what it is.
That's great.
So what we haven't talked about besides the manual is kind of the process when you get a new director come on board. How do you use this in conjunction with getting them onboarded? Because there's other things we do too. We do the tour, right? The facility tour, invite them in to come and meet some key staff. That's not covered in here per se. So we have to make a step back and say, how does this fit into the broader picture of onboarding a new board member? So that's where we're at. So in the next couple of weeks, I'll take a look through this. I'll make my comments, sit down with Ann and Anthony and James, and we can get this kind of finalized.
Yeah.
If you want to say something.
Oh, no, and I talked to Matthias on IT, so, and we're not there yet, but once we know what we're doing with this, we could probably have everything in a board member specific area on our webpage.
Great.
And then we could, expand that area as needed for board type items. And so, again, he's fine with the concept. He said it's easily doable. He doesn't understand what all the inputs will be.
Yeah.
So I told him, well, we could start with like the board member onboarding process and all the documents there, the links and stuff, except some of the links may be external, but anything that's internal, like, our ordinances, policies, so on and so forth. But then it could grow from there if needed.
Yeah. So, but I think it'd be really valuable to get feedback from the two of you and maybe from Director Pennick as well as new board members to say, because we have a sense of what we want to tell you, but you may say, oh no, I know all that. What I really need to know is this, and it's not in here. So maybe at the next policy committee meeting, we can walk you through this, kind of tell you how we think this will fit in with the overall onboarding process. And then solicit feedback and then formalize it, finalize it after that. I don't think anything like this needs board approval. But I think the policy committee is probably the right group to go through this. But I'm sure that we missed a lot that would be really helpful to new board members.
And I think that would be really valuable. You're the newest board member and you probably have ideas. I have ideas of things that I would like to see in there. So maybe maybe as part of the board packet for the next P3 committee meeting, maybe we could have the table of contents sent to us.
Yep.
And we can start generating ideas.
Yeah.
Maybe you've already got them, maybe not, but then at the next meeting, we can talk about our ideas that we want to include under the different headings, and maybe there are new headings that we think of as well. That way it can be somewhat standardized. There are things that I had wished that I had known.
Right.
And I love the idea. I don't want to assume, but is it like a portal that we're talking about with IT?
Yeah, I didn't get into the details of
Okay.
that, but he's saying that we could have an access point for board members that they can get into. I don't
Okay.
know the mechanism that has all the district pertinent information for them there.
Mhm.
It wouldn't have all the external links, but that would still be, or maybe it would have access to external links. So, I had a 10-minute conversation with him last week about it because I knew this was on the agenda. So
Yeah.
I wanted to plant the seed, and so he could start thinking about it.
And I wonder how much work it would save Anthony and Ann if we made it so that our board packets could be just uploaded and
Put on the site.
and then the onus is on us to go in and look at it and download it or whatever it is that we do, read it, download it. I always download them for my own record, but would that be a time saver for you and Ann, do you think?
I would say we do that now, to be honest. When I send you the PDF of the board packet, that's just for your convenience. We actually post it to the website at the same time.
Mhm.
because we need to release it to the public as
Mhm.
well. So
Okay.
the current board agenda packet is on, it's
Yeah.
uploaded to the website if you prefer to access it that way.
Yeah, okay,
I guess the
Okay.
PDF would just be just to ensure that you received it so you can review it.
yeah, okay,
And in case it didn't go on the website or you weren't able to for whatever reason.
okay,
You know.
Didn't have internet access and couldn't get to the website, that thing.
But yeah, typically we post the agenda same day I send you all the board package, so that's already uploaded to the district's website.
yeah,
Whether we post it to a new portal or not, that could be, pretty easily done, I think.
Well, I mean, we want access to all public for that, so probably I would imagine it stays in, so no matter what.
yeah. I didn't realize you posted it to the website at the same time that it was delivered to us.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, so this is it's kind of a hodgepodge of things, and some of it's just kind of procedural stuff like information about the district and pay dates and travel logs and things like that. But then there's other things that are more informational. There's water quality reports, there's the urban water management plan, there's overviews of the county water authority and CNA wastewater authority, things like that. So it's kind of broken down into different things. So I'm not sure what focus, like you said, felt you wish you'd had more information. I'm thinking, was she thinking more about, oh, that information from Dan Denham on the Colorado River was good, but that's probably nothing we put in here. Or was it more like, oh, I need to know access a travel log? That's the stuff I wish I had. So that feedback would be real helpful so that we know what should be in here and what's really maybe a companion document that's more just educational as opposed to informational. So, but yeah, the feedback will be helpful. So we'll do that. We'll maybe send you out the table of contents beforehand. And at the next meeting, we'll maybe walk through real quickly what's in there. And you can tell us from your perspective, what's not in there.
And both you and Director Penick kind of did not have a typical onboarding process
Yeah.
because it's COVID. So there, a lot of tours and stuff of how the California and the Colorado system work and how we get water that were just not available to you guys.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you'll see stuff like that. I believe it's already in there, but
Yeah, and some things like Director Grosset's experiencing, you got one day of the tour, you haven't had the second day yet, but that's just district stuff. James is referring to like the Colorado River tour, Northern California, the Bay Delta tour. Those are great things that probably wouldn't be part of this, but educating you of how to access those could be part of this process. That, hey, these are available. If you want them, let us know. Then the ball's in the court.
Sure. Yeah, and I guess to that point, like maybe a loose timeline for a lot of this stuff and like what to expect in your first week, your first month,
Yeah.
first quarter.
Yeah, timeline would be really helpful, right?
I really like that because it should also talk about, here's the typical period of time where we look at the budget and we
Yeah.
always try to have it
Yeah.
approved by,
Makes sense.
June the first.
Yeah.
Because there are things that are patterns that recur every year that we
Yep.
as board members, have to talk about. Maybe the 218 process, when we would be typically looking at a new 218
Yeah.
based on, previous meetings and, when the MOU negotiations, these kind of big things that come up that we play a role in.
Yeah.
Just so that we can be prepared and at least have an understanding of it going in.
Anthony Ann puts together a budget calendar. That's a year-long budget calendar that management goes through. So if some version of that, we could probably leverage that to the
Yeah.
board. So not all of it would be pertinent, but most of those items that you mentioned are on that calendar that Anthony Ann put together.
Yeah,
So-
you're talking about the master board
Yeah.
agenda. Yeah, it's a really good thing. And it was Anthony's idea coming over from NCTD. They used it and kind of gives the cycle throughout the course of the year. You'll probably see a budget at this time of year. You'll see the sewer IDA this time of year and the
Yeah.
audit findings. That type gives you a rhythm, subject to change, right? 218 is a tough one because 218 is totally up to us. There's no state mandated thing that says it has to be done this time of year. We do it whenever we think it's most appropriate. But a lot of other things we can put down and say, this is the kind of the general cycle of what you'll see.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you.
Like the MOU is a perfect example. It'll be every 4 years, but then, the board should know that we'll be working on this for several months.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so.
What other thoughts do you have about this?
I brought it up before, but making it a living document and something would be great, whether that's, Google Sheets or shared Word document, because we're in office, I suppose.
Yes.
So something along those lines might be better to make sure that's kept up to date, because I'm sure there's some documents in here that are likely out of date at this point.
You should have seen the old one.
Yeah, so that was the
But
big,
that's the problem, right? It's like, it's always gonna,
that was the big effort that Anthony and Nan went through. They took that older document and just updating it, because it included, and I think it still includes, a copy of what does a board packet look like? What does a budget look like? But it had a document that was 10 years old in it, right?
Yeah.
So just the process of updating those, but if it was simply a link, and when you go through electronic document, you click a link and it brings up the most current one, that's a lot of time.
Yeah, I don't think any of us want to have a binder.
No,
I don't think we need
no.
a binder, but,
No.
you know, but it's a good starting point,
Right.
right? And I think, you know.
Yeah, to show you that we're actually doing something and for us to process it, but once the
Yeah.
final product is not gonna be, here's your, you know, here's the trolley you need to push your binder around. No one wants that.
And I think, you know, what would be helpful, one of the things that I've struggled with is, you know, I know that we have all of our ordinances and resolutions digitized.
Yes.
The way that they are organized is difficult. It's difficult to search through because it's organized by date and number,
Mhm.
but the numbers and the dates aren't very informative. I don't know if that's something we want to think about during this process. I do want to think about it at some point because I think that, you know, as a new board member, I don't want to go through and look up each one and say, oh, I need to know that now. Oh, no, I don't. It would be great to have a way to, you know, figure out, oh, well, what's our district policy on?
Yeah.
Laptops for board members, for example, you know, where is that? Oh, we don't have one. Okay, well, maybe when you think, you know, just a way to search it that is intuitive.
So Laserfish is the document control software that we use. And it's all how the metadata was inputted when they first put it in. So a lot of times they put it in based on name, subject matter, number, and then they stopped. And most of that database was built in the 90s and early. So I agree with you. To do what you're doing, we'd have to go in and put new metadata for search criteria in to make it a little more user friendly. We've been doing that. We updated all of our, you know, not ordinances, but how we laserfish and archive documents and made it more automated starting probably around 2000. We started the process around 2010, 11, and then really kind of came up with a process and started implementing like 13, 14. So all the newer stuff has got a lot more searchable data, but all the older stuff does not. So when it's always been a back burner item, but when, you know, if we have time, we need to go through that older data and create the new metadata, the new search criteria, you know, that anything is tagged, you know, basically, you know, add the, you know, the appropriate hashtag, so to speak, to that data. So this way you can search it. So that's why what you experience is actually, we've heard that in the past too. The newer stuff is a lot easier. The older stuff is a lot difficult. And there's an inconsistency, but there's literally thousands of documents we have to go through for that. So it's, we're looking into different options, working with TS a little bit on it because engineering took it on the newer stuff. When we linked, we have a software, Maximo and Laserfish is our archive software. When we linked that together, that solved a lot of problems, freed up time because we had staff that would just scan all day. Now it's automated.
Yeah, good.
So, yeah. So, but nobody's gone through the old stuff.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And never hesitate just to reach out to Ann and Anthony. If there's something you're looking for, they can find it easier than maybe you can find it online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your idea is great and we'll get there, but in the meantime.
Yeah, because right now we do have an index, a resolution index and an ordinance index. If you bring it up in Laserfish, that is text searchable too.
Okay.
So if you know, if you get a couple hits on that, maybe a couple keywords, you can certainly bring
Yeah.
that up as
Yeah.
well.
And maybe we could put together a how to use the search criteria, because I don't know how some people may have different levels of computer savviness. So maybe we can put together a document that says, if you're looking for a document, go here, type in that. And then
But like your specific example, board member laptop policy, you know, when you turn that in, you're gonna get anything that says board in it. So, you know, and anything that says laptop in it.
Plus
and-
laptop. Plus policy.
And you know, it's gonna be one of them. So, but there'll probably be 20 of them in there, so.
Are Boolean searches still a thing? They are, right?
Or what?
Boolean searches, right?
I don't know what that is.
know.
It's putting in like this plus
This
this.
plus,
Oh,
okay, yeah.
That is still a thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Hard to keep it. I'm reading a book about the different generations and it's fascinating, like.
Yeah.
It's the technological influence across generations. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm always mindful of how outdated my, my technological knowledge is.
And you also, previous board members were not interested in anything electronic. They wanted
Yeah.
everything hard paper.
Yeah.
So now we're definitely
Mhm.
converting over, so.
Okay, any other thoughts about the board member onboarding process? I think this is a great start. It looks like a lot of work has gone into
Yeah.
it, so thank you. We got some action items once we see the table of contents to review it and put together some
Yeah.
brainstorms that we have.
I would just add to that, the actual forms that need to be filled out from a board member's perspective were very redundant. I mean, I think I filled out my name and address like probably a dozen times.
Okay.
So
On the same form?
there
Or,
was, there's your payroll form, there's insurance form, a
Yeah.
vision insurance form, a dental insurance form, and I understand that each of them have their individual requirements, but one person is likely entering all of this information manually. I presume it's Anthony or Ann or someone else.
HR.
All HR, okay,
Yeah.
so they only need to see the same information one time. And a lot of that could just be electronic anyways, like just make a job form or again, a Microsoft form or whatever that ingests all of your information at once, and then, it'd probably be easier to copy and paste than to read off of a form and put it. And e-signatures are, in many ways more valuable than a common signature because you can actually prove that person was like
logged on.
logged on at their
Right.
computer at that time, at that day, and what's a scribble worth these days? I
Yeah.
don't know, my signature is probably pretty easy to fake, so,
Yeah.
but you can't fake it when I'm at my computer.
They don't even teach cursive anymore in school, so
Yeah.
what are signatures gonna mean in the future?
And the board in the last year just adopted the new e-signature policy. So before we even had the ability to do it as a government agency, now we don't have as much as a private entity, but because it's restricted, but we have more now.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that?
No, I think this is great and commend you for doing a great job putting it together and I've had a good onboarding process personally. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And some of it's tough as with just the time it takes, particularly the facility tour, because they're half-day things and just working it into people's schedules. So sometimes committing anybody to a timeline is tough to say,
Yeah.
we'll have the facility tours done in the first month.
Sure.
May or may not happen, but that could be a target, right?
Yeah.
That's when you shoot for that.
Mhm.
Because you probably know it helps your understanding of the items that we take to the board. If I've been to Metal, I can understand what they're talking about. I mean, reference that.
Yeah, just a general outline of timeline and expectations of time, I think would be
Yeah.
helpful.
We try to start it even before a board member actually takes their seat, because we'll know the results of the election and there's some lag, and I'll usually reach out to the director and say, hey, it looks like congratulations, you're elected, why don't you come in, let's start the conversation. But then it continues well beyond the start of their tenure.
Okay, great. Okay, next item for discussion, Spring Fall Water Academy discussion.
Yeah, so we have a water academy that takes place in the fall. COVID got in the way of it for a couple of years. Usually October, I think, is the time frame that we pick. It's called the Water Academy, but its intent is to cover everything we do. It's the water, wastewater, and recycled water. So, and that includes half a day, actually about 2 hours in the morning of just educating people. It's usually people opt in, any member of the public is welcome to come. So they come into the office, they'll hear about 2 hours of talking heads explaining what we do. Then about 2 hours in the yard out here demonstrating some of the things we do, and then lunch, and then the whole afternoon is out in the field on the tour, right? So that's the thing, and it's a long day. You show up at 8 and you're done at 4:30, something like that. So we had the thought about doing it twice a year. So just once a year, do it twice a year, but break it into, and the thought was, do we do 2 water academies where it's everything, or do we do a water academy where it's just the water side, and then a wastewater academy where you're focusing? It could shorten the day So when you get on the bus, I don't, have you, either of you been on the bus tour for the Water Academy?
No,
So you go to basically two sites. You go all the way up to Twin Oaks to see the reservoirs that are up there. And then you go way down. So you're going from the very like far northeast corner of our service area all the way down to the southwest, and you go to Meadowlark. So it's a water and a wastewater facility, but it takes a whole afternoon to get those done.
And,
So-
and you have to listen to Ed and I talk on the bus.
And the
so
whole
that's
way.
Extra torture.
Yeah, it's right. Captive audience, you know. So the thought
Who
is,
goes on this and how many people to?
so it's usually one bus full and
it's well attended.
it's well attended and it's one of our best events. It's really cool because people really get to learn more about what we do and they get to meet the people that are behind what we do, which is really cool because they don't often get to see those folks. So it's usually 40 to 60 people.
Wow, it's great.
Yeah, it's a good turnout. Has a very older demographic. Lake San Marcos is disproportionately represented. I think they have a lot of time on their hands, right? Oh, that'd be fun to go do that, get a free lunch. So we're always trying to find ways to get a younger demographic and more diverse demographic. It's difficult to do. We've tried doing it on weekends. We've tried doing it in the summer and, you know, nothing seems to work. So we've kind of settled on this October. But recently we've had these conversations about doing a second one. And then what if we did a second one in the year, do we want to separate out a water versus a wastewater? So the bad side about doing two of the same thing, so it's water and wastewater, it puts a lot of burden on our field operations folks because they spend a lot of time getting the facilities ready. So a lot of time cleaning up because we want it to look the best, right? It's like really making sure that Twin Oaks looks good and Meadowlark looks really good. If you split that out, then you'd only have to clean one of the facilities once per year, not twice per year. So the water guys would have to clean their Twin Oaks for their tour, and then the Meadowlark would have to do theirs. And it may free up time to do something else. So maybe you can stop by Meadowlark and stop by Lift Station 1. You get two wastewater components. In the water, you could do something, you could add something else, because we just can't get any more than those two big ones in when it's a combined event. So we were hoping to do one this spring, and spring has kind of slipped by already. So I talked to Chris, and that's why I asked him to ask you to put it on the agenda to say, do we want to try to do that, or do we want to just maybe hold off, do the October one, and then retool then, and then try to set up a schedule where, yes, we're doing a fall event and a spring event, and are they water and wastewater, or are they both combined? One of my concerns is that is there enough demand? So if we did it twice a year, would we be able to fill two buses, one bus per cycle, or is all the demand going to be spent on one event or the other? Well, one way to find out is try it, right? Is schedule it, advertise it, reach out, and it's only one bus full and we have 100,000 people. I think we can get enough traffic driven to fill it up. But I guess kind of want to get your thoughts on, is there value in only focusing on, I'll say, half of our business on any given tour? Would you be interested in going on a wastewater only tour, or does the thing that excites you being to say, oh, I'll learn about water and wastewater?
And just to add to that, most people come because they want to come for the water, but when they comment, they love the wastewater portion, the
Yeah.
Meadowlark portion of the tour itself. But the reason they came was they wanted to learn more about water.
Yeah.
I think that's a really valuable insight. And the way to get around that, I think, is to try to market that,
Water reuse tour or something.
yeah, in a little bit more palatable
Yeah.
sense.
Don't call it the wastewater tour.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Sewer tour.
And also in the marketing, if it was a half day and you did it on the weekend, I'm not suggesting that we necessarily do that, but maybe figure out if, you know, which the age, the down demographic age limit is, you know, would you let 10-year-olds come, you know, or is that a liability? Is that too dangerous? You know, and really advertise, you know, this is a family friendly event, children, you know, 10 and up or whatever. I don't, this is not based on any data, but I don't think if we advertise it as a wastewater tour, that it would be well attended. But I think that if we marketed it a little bit differently, maybe it would. I'm willing to take the chance.
Yeah.
Because I could be totally wrong. There's no data behind that.
Yeah, we can call it water reuse.
Yeah,
Tour or whatever.
yeah.
I like it a lot. I mean, I would love to see even more of these tours. I think I mentioned it before, but like the Boys and Girls Club would love the tour of the facility as well.
Yeah,
Sounds like this is for the older crowd, and to your point, liability associated with marketing towards kids, but yeah, I mean, this is great.
Are we looking at doing the full thing in October, or are we thinking splitting it up, trying to just do one of them in October and one is, or is that
Yeah,
really the
that's- the
question?
conversations Chris and I have had is we keep the October date and probably do one, the water, and then in the spring, maybe do the wastewater. We have to be mindful of when we do which, because there's a lot of activity down at Meadowlark right now, and getting a tour in there with all the construction that's happening would be problematic. So we may want to do, if we did one in the spring, which we're here now. We'd probably be the water tour, and then maybe put some more time to hopefully allow Meadowlark to finish up some of their activities, but it's gonna go on for months.
Yeah, it's gonna go, Millar's gonna have some type of construction activity for the next 2-3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest.
Was there feedback that the tour was too long, or everyone was okay with
So-
that time?
Yeah, so we have surveys that we give out every year, and then Chris does a great job grabbing the surveys and kind of summarizing them and actually giving most of the people who were facilitators a copy of the surveys, and by and large, they're very glowing. The only comment was, it's a long day, it's a long day, but yeah, that's the only, and it's not really even a negative comment, just that's a comment, like, it's like some people say, how can we make this tour better? They said, well, it's a long day, but I don't know how you shorten it, so.
Yeah.
Some people love the lunch.
Yeah, they all love the lunch. Quite frankly, I don't think you guys have both been to the Twin Oaks Reservoir site. It
Yeah.
doesn't add a lot of value. You're there and these tanks are buried, they're underground. So I think it doesn't have a wow factor. Meadowlark has a wow factor. You're there, you smell it, you see it, you can,
It's 40.
Yeah, it is. It's all the senses, but the Twin Oaks one, for the amount of time it takes to get up there, I don't think there's a return on investment, and water in general is hard. I mean, most of our stuff is buried, right? So you're driving along, yeah, there's a pipe underneath this road and there's a valve can. It's like, okay, that's not that exciting.
Yeah, so if we did the water one, we could probably stop by like the PIF, the DSOP connection, for example,
Yeah.
first, and then go to Twin Oaks, because that's
Yeah.
right here by the district office or something to that effect.
Yeah, but even then, it's a
But-
building that has a pipe that goosenecks out. It's like, it doesn't have a.
Well,
oomph to it.
yeah, we'd have to coordinate with the water authority to
Yep.
get into the
Get into
building, because they're big pipes.
Yeah, once you're inside, it's
Yeah.
more impressive.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
what I
just to
mean.
drive by, it's not.
'Cause ours is the vault. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
What if we, and thinking about splitting it up and trying to get the people in for the wastewater, what if we paired it with like a gardening symposium or something like that? Because people will come for that. There's a lot of interest, and we have Lisa on staff, and she's such a tremendous resource. And I know that when you bring the people in, you give them a tour of the facility and highlight our
And that's part
our
of it,
gardens.
right.
But what if we make sure that we highlight that that's also going to be part of it? Maybe there are plants available for people to purchase or something like that to piggyback, because we know that people will love the wastewater. We know that. That's been the
Yes.
feedback. But getting them in, that's not the hook.
right.
We need to have a hook. And maybe the hook is pairing it with something that we know gets people in the door too.
Okay. Yeah, we can talk about that. I like the idea of some more targeted groups, whether it's a Boys and Girls Club, or Chris has been talking with Jacob Sheba at Palomar about bringing in maybe the whole registered classes at Palomar to come in and do a tour, whether it's our facilities or down at Meadowlark, something like that. So more targeted.
Mhm.
And then I think we'd have a better idea of what kind of attendance we get. The way the Water Academy is structured, you never know. We put out an open call, it's on our website, and sometimes we've had as low as 25 or 30 people, and we've had overflow before, so
Yep.
you don't know what you're gonna get. And so my biggest concern is if we did it twice a year, if it's a low year, we may have 10 people in a bus, and it's like, that was underwhelming. So you don't want to dilute your brand by offering it too often as a general offering, but I think the targeted offerings, I'd like to actually increase those, because that's easier to identify who you're going
Well,
after.
what could be good is we know we have a commitment from the target offering, piggybacking the community tour on top of that to
Yeah.
fill up the whole bus. We know we have 30 or 40 coming from Target already. So we have another 30 places
First come,
remaining,
yeah,
first come, first served.
Yeah. yeah, I like that.
How do people RSVP for that?
It's an email address, I think it says contact Chris or contact
Okay.
Lisa type of thing.
And we always have some new shows
Yeah.
as usual.
Do you have people just show up?
Yeah, every now and then we do, but not as much. And usually we'll end up, they'll show up with somebody who's coming
Yeah.
Okay.
already.
We've had like an elderly person sign up and they bring their grandchild. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But they didn't tell us they were bringing their grandkid. No big deal. And they got to come, but it's age diversity adds a lot. It's nice to have that.
And we have the ability, even if the bus is full, we have the district pool vehicles, which we have people drive to follow us.
Okay,
And you know, since they're SUVs, we fit some people in that. We usually fit staff in that to make more room on the bus.
Yeah.
okay.
And last time was thankful we did that because somebody had a medical emergency. A family member had a medical emergency that wasn't on the tour. So they pulled the bus over and the person got out, got in the chase vehicle and the police vehicle took them back to here to get their car to.
Yep.
And didn't have to divert the entire bus back to the district facilities.
And there's no cost, right? There's no cost.
Yeah, it's free for everybody to attend and, you know, the cost, so we pay for all the staff hours to prepare the facilities, we pay for the bus, we pay for the meals, but those are relatively small costs in the scheme of things. It's never been a budget driven thing. It's really an interest driven thing. If we had overflow every time, we would probably be offering it multiple times per year.
Mhm.
So like if the October event had 300 people sign up, we can only take 60, we would put them on a list for the next event. That's never been our problem. I don't know, in the time I've been here, we've never.
The very first year, we had 2 buses.
Okay.
The very first time we offered it, we had 2 buses, full buses. So, and some coordination, so we left a few people and a board member.
Yeah, we
That's
definitely
when
were.
it's-
We went back and got
That was
them. It's not like they-
Mr. Hernandez, he survived.
Yeah.
Well, Hernandez and I both came to the upfront
Yeah.
talking
To welcome the
part,
people.
to
Yeah,
welcome people this
Yeah.
time. But we didn't go.
right.
Yeah.
So is the decision point that we want to consider whether we split it and have 2? Or we just keep it as 1, or we want to have 2 full?
Yes,
That-
all that.
that's
So
okay.
what do you think there's some value? My concern about keeping them together is it makes for a busier day and it's just hard to fit it all in.
Mhm.
And I don't know if people, it's almost too much information for people. They're
Mhm.
talking about water, wastewater, recycled water, you take me on tours, you feed me lunch. It's just like a sensory overload.
Mhm.
I agree with James. The single biggest complaint is that was a long day, but it wasn't in a negative way. It's like,
No.
oh, that was a long day. I'm
It
tired.
was a long day. I'm
Yeah.
really tired, but it was an amazing tour.
Do people complain about the lack of restroom access?
They have good restroom access. Good-
They do,
Yeah, there's one bathroom with the Twin Oaks. There's a women's and men's bathroom and middle are.
Yeah.
Okay,
And obviously we tell them before we leave here, hey, will be your last chance to go to the bathroom for
remember
another 30 minutes. Or
yeah.
something.
I remember that.
Yes, yeah, that doesn't come up,
Okay,
but because I think they anticipate it and they know that there's a place to go.
okay,
And we bring waters and some drinks and a cooler for everybody. So,
Yeah.
you know, in case it's hot.
yeah.
So,
So if the committee and maybe the board was more interested in more targeted outreach, then I would probably say, let's just leave the water academy alone. Let's do it once a year. We'll get what we get, and then we'll focus more on these targeted groups, whether it's high schoolers or grade schoolers or college age kids, whatever it may be. I'm a little worried about capacity, staff capacity, right? If we go do too much, then it's like our crews are spending more time getting the facilities pretty than they are operating the facilities. And we're already hearing a little bit of that with like intern programs and things. So I want to make sure we don't overwhelm
I
our,
think that's an
our
important.
staff.
Yeah,
yeah, we don't have. Chris doesn't have a big enough team to do this himself. So Chris, the next thing when we say, let's do something, he's on the phone to Ed and his team to say, okay, I need you guys to do this. I need you to clean this. I need somebody to help run this group. And even on the water academy, when we do the things here, we'll walk people through the conservation garden. And then we'll demonstrate things like wastewater cleaning, and we'll do the CCTV.
Yep.
So we need, the field guys aren't doing any work. They're here.
And the
giving us
water, and the water
presentation
ops.
And show water
Yeah.
ops presentation, yeah. So, which is fine, but how many days a year do we want to devote to those efforts? We've never come up with a budget or a number of hours. We just do it as needed.
Mhm.
So we just kind of want to maybe just have an open dialogue about how important this is and where do you think we should focus our efforts?
I think it's really important. I think it's a really important public service that we continue to do something. I'm willing to go with the majority as far as if we want to try to change it. I'm willing to do the experiment. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I think the idea of inviting targeted groups is a really good one. We have captive audiences. We have folks at Palomar that may be wondering what their day-to-day
Yeah.
life would be like if they chose this path. And that I think will only help them go into this path because they'll see what a great facility we have. And I like the idea of getting kids involved.
Yeah.
So I think all of these are great ideas, but I do want to be mindful of putting one more thing
Yeah.
on the staff
Yeah.
because I have also noticed that, when we talk about the internship program and we talk about the new intern, there's, I'm getting the sense that it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
It's
it
a
is.
lot of work and I want to be mindful of that. I don't want the staff to become resentful or not enthusiastic about continuing to host the interns or continuing to do things like this, because I do believe it will be helpful in the end, but I also recognize they have a job to do and
Yeah.
it's not an easy job. So
I think part of helping this too is accelerating the tour. I seriously think you should aim for a 2-hour tour. And to your point, focusing just on the exciting parts. So
Yeah.
I guess that's just Meadowlark. So it's just here and maybe one quick point out on the way to Meadowlark
Yeah.
and Meadowlark and to Director Boyd Hodgson's point, getting that hook to get people to come in. I love the gardening aspect. Like that's a good way to attract a bigger crowd for the more general tour, and then the little targeted tour like once every 6 months. I think would be good.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, yeah, I think on the drive down to Meadowlark, there are a lot of opportunities just to point out the window. That's what this, there's a tank, there's that, without having to stop and
Yeah.
add a significant length to it.
the park Double Peak.
Yeah.
Your facility up there is beautiful. You get the view.
Yeah,
If you could do Meadowlark and that, I think that's like chef's kiss right there.
I think the only value, in my opinion, to going all the way up to Twin Oaks and then down to Meadowlark is it gives people the sense of the size of the district.
Right.
Because they're like, oh my God, we're still in the service area, because it takes a while to get from Twin Oaks all the way down to Meadowlark, and for people to realize, oh, this is bigger than I thought.
Or you can point to Twin Oaks and Double Peak.
Yeah, right. We can do that as far as the eye can see, you can point out things. So yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe Double Peak's a good stop.
And
too.
actually having that like map that they can look at. And that's that,
Yeah.
that's that. And that's
If you've
that.
ever been to
It's
like
all Vallecitos.
national parks and they have those like
Right.
dioramas that are there and say, oh, that's that peak in the distance. We've talked about doing something like that. Can we get something built, work with the city, have it installed, and people can look. We'd sponsor a portion of the park and say, oh, that's that reservoir, that's the desal plant. That might be cool.
Top of Twin Oaks actually has a, at the top of Double Peak, has that, but I'd be concerned of getting some of the elderly people up there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
It's a little challenging.
yeah, so the logistics becomes an issue. I mean,
Yeah.
even going just to Meadowlark and back with the tour, you're gonna swallow up more than 2 hours. But you definitely want to have a little bit of talking head time, because we want to get our captive audience and pitch what we want to pitch about what the great work we're doing here at the district and what their rates are going towards, basically. This is what you're paying for, this is what we do with it.
I guess I would make the recommendation for now. It's kind of late in the spring to try to schedule a second tour this year. Let's focus on October for the Water Academy. We'll refine it, maybe take out Twin Oaks and figure out what we can add and make it, maybe condense it a little bit. I don't want people to feel like they're on the baton death march, right?
Right.
If it's too long, it leaves them with a bad taste in their mouth.
Mhm.
And then maybe concurrently, we can start talking about targeted groups. And if you guys have any recommendations, I've heard Boys and Girls Club, but Palomar is definitely on our list. We can probably reach out to Cuyamaca, who does similar to Palomar, but they're in the East County.
Mhm.
And we can even open it up to them to do maybe it's a wastewater program, but it doesn't have a negative aspect, because these are the people that are thinking about choosing that for their career. And
Well, you may make a recommendation, because sometimes in the spring, especially if we get late spring rains, Meadowlark may be dealing with different issues in the spring, while in the fall, They're
more
not doing,
stable.
it's, yes, the sewer, I mean, it's all dry.
Yeah.
They don't have any INI. There's no chance of, anything like that. In general, if we were going to do the two, I'd do the wastewater in the fall. And
Yeah.
do the water in the spring.
Yeah.
Just for that reason.
Yeah, and if we just did one water academy that had water and wastewater and these targeted groups that are more focused on wastewater, they could be back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
Right, so the crew is only doing a big cleanup once and getting the benefit for multiple stops there, so. Okay, if you have any more thoughts about targeted groups, let us know. I recommend for the first wave of it, let's focus on the college folks that are in the wastewater program. I think that's where we get the most benefit. May drive more traffic to the intern program and scholarships as well. They have some collateral benefits.
Does Miramar have a wastewater or water program? I don't think they do.
I don't believe so.
I don't know if Maricosta. would do-
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
I'm
that's,
sorry,
I
Maricopa.
figure that's what you meant. I don't think they do.
No, isn't there a Miramar also? I thought there was a Miramar also. So,
Okay, so then we will proceed with a fall combo tour.
Yeah,
And we will start talking to Jacob. And I'm not sure who the person is at Kuyamakan.
it was Don Jones. I don't know if Don Jones is still there, but he's kind of Jacob's equivalent
Okay,
there.
to try to book.
the Boys and Girls Club, Jacob, or I don't know, Jacob.
Jacob's a.
Jacob's
Oh,
Shiva.
oh, Jacob.
Yeah, he's their kind of program water wastewater coordinator. And if we go for a younger group like the Boys and Girls Club, then maybe, and most of them, there's probably elementary and high school age.
They have both.
They're both, yeah. Because it may be good to have, drop it down and do a high school age tour, right, which could include Boys and Girls Club or the high schools, and Chris can reach out to them and we can try to schedule it.
They have a whole career track program where they're like trying to teach kids get ready for interviews and then resumes and all that stuff. So it's really setting them up on the right foot for success.
Yeah,
San Marcos Promise as well.
yeah,
Might be-
yep, yeah, Chris has good contacts with the Promise.
Yeah.
The water is a great industry, but the water side of things, it's a tougher sell. Even you take them to water ops and there's a screen, right? And you can, you click this and if the water, and I think it's hard to really tell the kids what they'd be doing. Whereas the wastewater side, the Metal Art tour, it really makes an impression.
Mhm.
Not always a good one. Some people go there and say, "No, I couldn't work there."
Mhm.
That's valuable too, right? If
Mhm.
you don't think this is for you, learn it early.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Go on to the next thing.
It's helpful information.
It is.
Okay,
All right, so we'll keep it to the Water Academy will be once per year, but we'll focus more on these targeted groups and build that up as we can.
when we are having one of these water academies, do you advertise like in a whale call and?
We do, yeah, so and that's part of the reason why we may get the
So many,
disproportionate,
like-
because they're an easy group to reach out because they really pay attention. They have their own newsletter. Not many other HOAs that we're aware of have a newsletter of that circulation that really gets out there. We could try to do a better job of reaching out to more HOAs. Cities usually keep a list of the organizations within their boundaries, and maybe we can get that from them and reach out more. But for whatever reason, Lake San Marcos is really interesting.
And we have reached out to San Juan Hills before in their,
Okay.
the newsletter that goes out in San Juan Hills that all the residents get. But, a lot of them are working parents and they're not gonna wanna give up 8 hours or 7 hours
Yeah.
on Saturday.
Yeah,
So.
and I think we
understand
tried
that.
the Saturday once. It didn't work out very well.
It didn't work out that
Mhm.
well, and we tried to hit it between sports schedule, because at that point, they got kids
Yeah.
in soccer, kids in baseball, kids in
Mhm.
whatever,
Yeah.
so.
But the reality is, if you do it during the week, it's gonna be an older demographic, mostly retired folks. So it's just,
And if we do it during the weekend, then we do incur additional costs with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Okay, there's a new San Marcos publication that's coming out as well. I think I copied you two on it. It's San Marcos Home Journal or something like that, or maybe
Maybe
I
Chris.
sent it to Chris, and I
I'll
would have
talk to Chris about it.
copied one of you on an email across, so. But it goes to everybody in San Marcos. I don't think they have an issue that's come out just yet. I think their
Yeah.
inaugural issue is June. But that's another avenue, but it might not be the target
Yeah,
demographic
yeah.
as well.
Right.
So,
Okay, well, that's helpful.
okay,
I couldn't remember if we had any discussions at this group about splitting it into two, but I know I had heard from several board members, maybe we should try to do it more often. But I just wanted to figure out how to do it properly.
okay. Well, great. Okay, we've got some homework for the next meeting. And we will look forward to seeing the other, the next iteration of that, or the table of contents, and
Yeah.
then, you know, we'll explore the, what's behind the table. of
Even
contents.
if it gets fatter, it doesn't mean that doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to carry the giant.
Yeah, this is just a visual representation of what it'll look like electronically.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think that that's great. I think having it accessible and a living document to Director Gorsuch's point is a good idea.
Yeah. And we'll try to make sure that any forms, because this has some forms, make sure they're easy to fill out, right? Because you don't want to have to print out a form. Be nice if you just click it, fill it out, submit it.
Yes, that would be great. Okay, anything else? Any other comments, questions, concerns? Okay, then we are adjourned at 10:46.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.